Hello, Physio Practice Owners. If you want to know how to make word of mouth referrals more consistent, more predictable, and more scalable for your practice, then this is the episode for you. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. It's called How to Turbocharge Word of Mouth Referrals so they are more predictable, more consistent, and scalable for your practice, right? So in other words, it's a steady, predictable flow of word of mouth referrals. Now, as you know, word of mouth is one of the strongest, if not the strongest form of marketing you can do for obvious reasons. We're going to have a look at why that is, but there's some problems with that as well. Often it's not consistent and it's not predictable in the number of word of mouth referrals you get because you're relying on a lot of factors, which we'll cover as well. So this episode is all about breaking this very powerful marketing method for your practice and doing things a little bit differently to make it a lot more predictable, right? Therefore, you can use it at scale, right? And be consistent with it. So let's have a look at first why word of mouth really works. Now, I'm sure you know this, but let's cover it anyway. So firstly, why is it so great? Well, if you really think about the psychology of a referral or a word of mouth referral, is when somebody recommends your practice to somebody else, right? There is no bigger endorsement than a person who's actually experienced your practice. If somebody else has lower back pain and one of your patients says, go and see this physio, they sorted out my back. They're awesome. There is no greater marketing than somebody else who's experienced your practice and received great service and experience, telling somebody else about it. It is by far the biggest form of trust, right? And obviously it's cost effective as well, all right? It's cost effective in the sense that you don't have to pay for the people to do it, but it's costly in the sense that you need to do the right things on your end for them to feel like that in the first place, right? And then get the word out there. But the thing is, you can be doing all the phenomenal things in your practice and giving your patients a great service. You can be doing all that on your end, but you just can't spend the money, or you might not be able to have influence on what this person says to other people or the frequency they say to other people and referring and recommending you, right? Word of mouth referrals are so awesome because they have a very high conversion rate. When someone's got a problem and one of your patients tells that person about it, the conversion rates are typically very, very high, much, much higher than any other channel, right? Because it's a personal recommendation. And also, what tends to happen is those referrers that are coming from the people who are being referred by, they tend to be more loyal as well because they've directly come from somebody who's recommended, right? As a result of that, they tend to be more loyal. Right, they tend to give themselves more reasons. Well, this person had a great experience with them. Even if things aren't going exactly the way they should be with that new person that's been referred to you, because they've been referred to you by a person that they know, they tend to trust the process a little bit more. So there's a lot less work for the practice to actually serve the patients as well. Not to say that you should serve the patient less, it should be at the same standard, but it'll become easier, right? Because they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt more. But what's the problem when it comes to word of mouth? Really is the human factor. The referrer is the problem, right? You might have a couple of what we call raving fans of your clinic that will do this on a regular basis because they love you and they've gotten great out of you and they're just great people and they'll tell everyone about it. You might get one or two of them or several of them. But the large problem is the other people who've got a great experience from you, all right, they just won't be thinking about your practice nowhere near as much as you want them to. Okay, because of that, there's less of you can't influence that, right? You can't make that a predictable flow of patients because of that. It's unpredictable and it's not very reliable. So because of it's unpredictable and not reliable, you can't scale it. So there's a big problem here. So you have a channel that is incredibly powerful, the most powerful one, but there is no way to systemize it. There's no way to make it consistent. There's no way to make it predictable and therefore scale it. So the best way to do this, right, is that there's specific tool, right, that you can use there's specific tools that you can use to encourage people, your patients who've had great experiences, to actually refer people on. And there's a way to pick the right people for that as well, right? I'll share both of these in a second, right? But when it comes to who to target to get referrals, you don't want to target everyone. What you want to do is you get really specific on the type of people that you want referrals from. That way you can focus your real energy on these people, right? And the people that you want to target in terms of getting referrals from are the people who leave positive reviews. People who leave a 4 or 5 star Google review, for example, on your profile, all right? Facebook review, whatever that is. People who leave a positive review are the people you want to target, all right? And why? Why would you target them and not everybody else? Well, just by them putting in a positive review, you already know, number one, that they have a high level of satisfaction. It's a positive review, right? People who have taken that extra step. Remember, to put a positive review, there's a few things that need to happen before that. They have to log into the platform. They have to think what they want to say. They have to actually write it. There's a bit of effort and time involved with that, right? So just for that reason, they've demonstrated they might go that extra mile for you to promote you. They've already told you that by the positive review, right? The second thing is they literally are proven advocates of your practice. They have a positive association with your practice, all right? And they're already supporting your practice publicly, all right? So already they're at a point where they're happy to tell everyone else about it. They've told you that by them putting the review in, okay? And like I said, just by somebody doing that tells you that person is engaged with your business and your practice, because they have to do a lot of things to actually put a positive review up there. They basically become like a brand champion. They basically have admitted they are willing to be a brand champion for your practice. They've already told you that, all right? And because of that, their likelihood of being loyal to you as a patient will increase, and their likelihood of them telling somebody else about your service and recommending them will increase as well, all right? So this goes without saying, this is why getting reviews for your practice, positive reviews, is absolutely critical. Now, we're not going to cover that in this episode. There are other episodes that we've done in terms of getting more positive reviews, right? There's heaps of them. You can go check it out, right? But this one is particularly about, now that you have those positive reviews, how can you ask them to refer people, right? There are some tools. There's 3 main tools. Now, we are not associated, we don't get paid to say and mention the companies that I'm just about to mention, right? These are the companies that we found works really well to work with your physio practice to get referral, all right? So a company called Review Trackers, there's a company called Podium, and there's a company called Bird Eye. They're all great platforms to getting referrals from your patient base, all right? Referrals from positive reviewers in your patient base. These are really good platforms to do, okay? But what you want to be doing, though, is you want to make sure when you ask for the reviews that you time it the right time. You make it the right time. This timing is right? Now, often, because when it comes to physio, right, they won't get an immediate result. Well, unlikely they'll get an immediate result. Most of the time, at least, right? It'll take a couple of sessions, 2-3 sessions to do that, right? At least 2 sessions to see something. Get an idea of who you are as a practice. It'll take the patient to about 2 sessions or 2 weeks, whichever comes first. It's a reasonable amount of time for them to know enough about you to have a sentiment about you. So you want to make sure that you ask. What we found is 2 visits or 2 weeks, whichever comes first, is what you want to do, or 2 weeks of treatment. Okay. So, but it's very important. Once again, remember, these are people, you got to really understand that at the end of the day, unless they are absolute raving fans and they are an absolute ambassador and they really feel like that about your practice, they're not going to really do the work to recommend people. Okay. Because it's up to you to motivate them. All right. And how you do that is you've got to offer valuable rewards, right, to the referrer and the referee. So these rewards need to be rewards that these people desire deeply and repeatedly. Now, let me sort of explain what I mean by that, right? So if they're coming to your practice, all right, one of the things that they might really need is, ongoing treatment, all right, maybe for another few sessions or something. They really, really need it, all right? So you've got to find a way to compensate them on what they truly need. But it needs to be repeatable. For example, it can't be just like, for example, it can't be a pillow, right? Because a person might run out of eating pillows. You can't give them 10 pillows. You should be able to come up with something that you can give them on repeat that they desire deeply. And typically, it's the services that you provide, right? Because I need to come to them regularly, right? Typically, it's maybe a $20 voucher, a certain amount of discount, or maybe loyalty points that add up to discounts, that kind of thing, all right? Think of what the person, both the referrer and the referee, deeply need repeatedly. That's the key thing, okay? So I hope that was useful. There's lots more episodes and podcasts and things to download, all that kind of thing in our website, physiomarketing.co. Head down there, have a look. But if you're like most practice owners, you probably want somebody who is an expert in growing physio practices, help you get there without you having to do anything yourself. If that is you, I want to encourage you to go ahead and book a call with us. Go to our website, physiomarketing.co. There'll be a book a call button on the top right-hand corner. Other than that, thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon.